Benjamin can have love for the truckie. Beautiful minds, but we love getting ugly. Risk takers with a clover, man, we love getting lucky. You run, we chase fire, I love when it ducks me. Tones go off, house watch, read the address out. 1075, get up off the magic couch. 500 gallons prepared for the baddest drought. Who else you want on the way when disaster's out? Can't even get a little bit rattled when you enter with exit apparel. Mayday, member down, they'll drag you. You won't get this from every Tom, Dick, and Harold, but here's a view from the top floor with Mickey Farrell.
House software got you buried in tabs, logins, and paper sign-in sheets. You've got one system for training, another for reporting, something else for alerting, scheduling, inspections. You get the idea. That's why departments across the country are switching to Alpine Software's Red Alert, the tailor-made fire service software that brings everything together in one system with one bill and no more paperwork. Red Alert replaces your pile of platforms with a single, customizable solution that handles training, alerting, inspections, truck checks, percentage reports, award points, ISO prep, OSHA tracking, the list goes on, everything you do your way. No two Red Alert systems are the same. Alpine builds your software around the unique needs of your department. And when it's time to switch, Alpine will convert all your old data with no setup fees at zero risk. Their entire team is based in Rochester, New York, which means no support runaround. You can pick up the phone and speak to somebody who understands the fire service and gets your issues fixed. With over 30 years of trust and an average customer tenure of 19 years, Alpine's mission is to be the last software purchase your department ever makes. It's battle-tested, firefighter approved, and nearest ready. So if you're ready to save time, reduce costs, and finally get control of your operations, visit alpinesoftware.com for a completely free consultation. That's alpinesoftware.com. Red Alert by Alpine Software. Built for the job, backed by firefighters. This episode's brought to you by Ease Alert Heart Smart Alerting Solutions. Have you ever been jolted awake by a blaring station alarm only to sprint out half asleep, heart pounding? That's that legacy fire station alerting system, and it's doing much more harm than good. So meet Ease Alert, the world's first heart-smart firefighting alerting system. Designed by firefighters, proven by science, their purpose-built alerting devices deliver vibration and visual alerts, shaving seconds off of turnout times while improving health for the first responder. Ease Alert isn't just about comfort, it's about safety. Firefighters are 14 times more likely to die from heart attacks during alarm responses than during non-emergency duties. Ease Alert's Heart Smart system slashes stress, improves performance safety, and allows you to be the best firefighter you can be, on duty and at home. From bunk alerts and wristbands to dispatching consoles, display boards, and firehouse lighting, every component is purpose-built by firefighters for firefighters. No more missed tones, no more startled response, just fast, smooth, safe alerts. Fire departments across the country like Mission, Texas, and St. Augustine, Florida, report calmer crews and faster turnout times. And their chiefs even say that the system is battle-tested and firefighter approved. So are you ready to switch? Visit easealert.com and discover how silent alerting can save time, reduce stress, and improve safety for you, your crew, and your community. Visit easealert.com to learn more and tell them National Fire Radio sent you.
So, guys, welcome back to another episode of A View from the Top Floor. Today's topic I want to talk about is firefighter removal and firefighter packaging, and I think how this is an incredibly important subject and topic to cover and understand intimately, but we have to understand where this came from and where we are today, and how those lines have somewhat been blurred in the sense where we don't necessarily have to package a firefighter or turn that mask into a harness at every single fire we go to in a downed firefighter situation. It comes down to the details. But let's start with the fire that made us come up with a systematic method in firefighter packaging and firefighter removal, and that fire was in June of 1999 in South Ozone Park. Captain Fowler was operating in the basement of a private dwelling. There was a structural collapse that ultimately trapped him in the basement. Firefighters had an incredibly hard time getting to him. His Proby actually stayed with him the entire time, making the transmissions, directing the other companies into position. Once they got to him, they could not remove him. He was below grade in the basement of a private dwelling, and they ripped every piece of clothing off him as they were trying to get him to the street level. So this is where we came up with the concept of firefighter packaging and firefighter removal, in the sense where we take that mask that we're wearing and convert it into a harness to remove a firefighter below grade. But that's the key word, below grade. We've lost the idea, or the lines have been blurred, in the sense where every time we're coming across a downed firefighter, I see firefighters in drill atmosphere packaging that firefighter and making that mask, converting it into a harness to remove the firefighter. A lot of times, just locating that downed firefighter and quickly removing him at street level will be more beneficial than taking the time to converting that mask into a harness. That said, I'm talking about if we're finding a firefighter that's at grade with street level. So the first floor of a commercial building, a ranch type house, or even if it's above grade on the second floor, we can remove that firefighter and bringing him down the stairs to the street level. Packaging that member is crucial when we're below grade, operating in a cellar or a basement. So when we are the RIT team with the fast truck and we're put to work, we don't necessarily have to take that time to convert that mask into a harness. Is it a good practice? Absolutely. But we all know conditions are deteriorating very quickly in a fire. That's where we get the acronym FAIR. Now, I'm not a big acronym guy. I think acronyms are for test takers. It confuses firefighters, where we think that there's sequential steps in what we do, and we have to follow those steps one by one by one. There's truth to that, yes, but we have to grasp ultimately the goal and how we have a flow in everything we do. My comparison to this is a professional baseball player. You watch him step into the batter's box, knees bent, elbow up, eye on the ball comes in, eye on the ball, foot up, twist the hips first, follow through, right? So there is a sequential breakdown of a professional baseball swing. Watching a baseball player swing that bat, it's flawlessly smooth. That's how we have to operate under stress on the fireground, flawlessly smooth. So there is a sequential step, and that acronym again is FAIR. Fire, what are our fire conditions? Well, that's pretty common sense to me, but yes, we have to observe the fire conditions and the environment which we're operating in. That's key though. Fire, yes. What's that environment and that location? Are you below grade? Are you above grade? Are you at grade? So that's part of the F acronym for fire. But yes, we want to talk about where that firefighter is located, and that's the details within it. Understanding, again, the details. The devil's in the details, everything we do. I can't stress that enough. That's what makes you professional. Operating with this flow state and what we're doing, having that sequential order naturally happening all at once. We're observing the fire. We're seeing the environment. And then A, that's the next part of the acronym, air. Does he have air? Is his face piece on? Is his regulator detached? These are all things that, yes, we have to identify very quickly, but it's part of the idea of that it's flowing. We are observing the fire in the environment at the same time we're addressing the air situation. And during the step, are we attaching a fast pack to him? Do we have the fast pack in position? Do we have the fast pack with us? Again, in reality, if the RIT team or fast truck goes to work, there's times where that team is split up. In a large commercial building, I might split my team up. 2 go in the rear, 2 go in the front. We'll meet halfway as we're searching for a downed firefighter. If we don't know where they are, sometimes we'll stage and then we'll go into position when they find the downed firefighter. But let's be realistic. We do know that most times a downed firefighter is found from the interior crews operating in that fire building, and that RIT or fast team is just a supplement to the removal of that firefighter. But back to the acronym. Fire environment. Air, we have addressed the air. Now, immediate medical care. Obviously, it's critical that we address any life-threatening injuries, but if that environment or that fire condition is deteriorating very quickly, this is something that can be addressed after. Again, acronyms, setting that sequential order is good, but we have to understand in the moment, it's happening very natural, just like that baseball swing. And then finally, R, for removal, and extricating that firefighter safely outside the fire building. However, if fire conditions are rapidly deteriorating, we have to get that firefighter out. So all those things happen, it has to happen at the same time. Just like the baseball swing is happening at the same time, and when you break down the steps, it's a sequential order, but don't overthink this. Again, we get caught up in acronyms. Acronyms confuse young firefighters as we're learning and gaining experience. So practice in your training. When you come across a downed firefighter, is he below grade? Is he above grade? Is he at grade? Give your mayday while this is all happening. You can give your mayday the same time that you're lifting the face piece off his face, break that seal, and see if you have a positive airflow. If not, then we address the next steps, either turning the purge valve open, taking the regulator out, putting the fast pack in position, whatever that next step is in that moment. But again, every moment's a bit different, so we can't overthink it through the acronyms. Addressing the fire, the environment, giving the mayday, checking the airflow, and then if we have to package that member to get them from below grade out to the street level, it should be happening all at the same moment. Now let's talk about taking control of the situation. A firefighter needs, I can't stress it enough, to take control of the firefighter packaging. It doesn't necessarily have to be the officer. I think for the officer to be communicating with command and communicating with his men in the moment, but allowing his men to work. Now that firefighter operating at the head of the down firefighter, he should be running the scenario of removing the firefighter. Officer communicating, and then the other firefighters filling the gap and making sure we have a clean access point to get out. As we know, down firemen, it's like moths to flame. Everyone's trying to help. Everyone wants to do the right thing. You can't fault guys for doing that, but the problem is controlling that situation. So even if you're a probie and you know that the guys are packaged the firefighter, we're ready to make that extrication out of the fire building. Clear that path, be aggressive, be vocal, and make sure we come up with a clean exit strategy and a clean path to the outside of the fire building. I know many times in many departments, this firefighter removal drill becomes a pretty intense drill. It's a very intense moment, but we have to be able to manage our emotions and our stress. It's very, very difficult to come across a downed firefighter, a fellow brother and sister, and know them personally, and then have to remove them in the moment. So it's hard to interact to our training, but if we can practice and talk about removing yourself from the situation, looking down upon it, and understanding that we have no control. And when you gain that control, we now turn to have complete control, and we perform. Stress level is incredibly hard on these fires, these down fireman drills. We have to increase the stress levels, which is hard to do during a drill, I know that. But if we can increase the stress level just to be able to manage our breathing, manage our stress, and think clearly. This comes down to thinking. It comes down to the details, understanding your environment which you're operating in, fire conditions. And during all this, think about getting another line of position. If we have fire conditions, we can't stop fighting the fire. But there's nothing wrong getting another line of position to protect the members of working and exiting that fire building with that downed firefighter. Again, these are all things we can put into our training. The practical side of this, the reality side of this, and the training side of this, the lines are very blurred, so I think it's important that we talk about this as much as we drill on this, and we talk about what we're going to do when we do find that downed firefighter. Again, let's not forget where this all started. So if you are conducting this drill, if you do have this in your academy, if you're an instructor in your academy, take the time maybe to read the fire report of Captain Fowler from the New York City Fire Department, June of 1999, when he succumbed to his injuries in the basement of a private dwelling because we could not remove him the proper way, and how we've come so far since that day in June to where we are today, where we actually have the drag devices incorporated into our bunker gear. But yes, we all know the fire service is reactive rather than proactive. That's just the way it is. But let's be proactive in our training and our drilling and understanding that we don't always have to take that mask and convert it into a harness to remove that firefighter that is at grade or operating on that first floor of a fire building or above, even bringing that firefighter down. We don't necessarily have to package that firefighter into a harness. Below grade, subcellar, absolutely. We should be thinking that as we're going down the stairs to that down firefighter, how we're going to package him and how we're going to position him to get out. All right, guys, the devil's in the details. Like everything I say, take the time to read that fire report and say a prayer for the family of Captain Fowler and the New York City Fire Department. Until next time, I'm Mickey Farrell. I'll talk to you soon.